episode of Sanctuary Radio. This is a podcast brought to you by Sanctuary Recovery Centers. Our mission is to break the stigma surrounding addiction to empower others to live addiction-free lives, providing hope to those who suffer from addiction and offer continued care and true healing. I want to welcome my co-host, Haley.
What's up, everybody?
Oh my God, the hair's done proper like today.
I told you, you better be ready.
That's how I knew we were actually recording.
Yeah, my hair's always done when we're...
I came here to drop off a check, and then all of a sudden I see your hair, and I'm like, oh, we must have...
It's podcast day.
It's podcast day. So I want to welcome our guest today, Marcus Weisbly. He is the business development director, manager, if you will, from Crossroads. So let's welcome him to the show.
Thank
What's
you, guys.
up?
Pleasure to be here. Happy to be here.
Shout out Crossroads.
Seriously, I love Crossroads.
You and me both.
Yeah.
Crossroads saved my life and many others. So I try and work there and give back and help change one individual's life a year. That's my goal.
So you work at Crossroads, and I know, about your story, and you're going to share that with us today, and, everything that you've been through that's led to this point, to have the ability to have the position that you had. We don't just come into Crossroads and all of a sudden be the business development, go through the program, let alone, and then here we are, we're doing business development and podcasts on behalf of the facility. It doesn't work that way, but what do you currently do there?
Currently, I am the business development manager for Crossroads. Also trying to integrate and create a alumni program for Crossroads for all the individuals like myself that have gone through Crossroads and continue to stay sober. And just try and get our name and our relationships continue to be built and continue to be a pillar in the community of recovery.
How long has Crossroads been in the Valley?
60 years.
Wow.
60 years.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. And so I actually went through Crossroads Arcadia way back when, and, I had my service commitments are at Crossroads for my personal program I work. I go to 3 different ones on the weekend, so I definitely have a soft spot in my heart for Crossroads, their mission and everything that they're doing, because that's what this podcast is all about. We want to continue to bring in representatives from all the other different treatment facilities, because we're a big team. We work together. It's a team sport, and that's what this thing's all about. But let's get into your story a little bit. You ever been to Crossroads, Haley?
I used to go to Crossroads East for meetings.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and that's where I met my
Somebody?
now ex-fiance.
Okay, all right. So you went there to 13th step.
For sure.
Well, 100%. I got kicked off the property for actually hooking up with someone previously to Kyle, so it was pretty bad. I was pretty bad in my early recovery.
Okay. You know why they call it 13 stepping?
I don't know why.
It's step 1 plus step 12. Let me share my unmanageable life with you.
Perfect.
13. Write that down. It's down.
It's
okay.
down.
All right, but let's get into your story a little bit, Marcus. So you're born in Anaheim, California. Shout out Anaheim. Are you a Ducks fan? No?
He said
Angels?
absolutely not.
Yeah, I like the Angels.
You like the
Okay.
Angels?
I do.
Otani?
Guy's a beast.
Yeah,
right?
he is a beast. So what was it like? How long were you out, growing up in, California? I know that you've experienced a lot of trauma in your life, just like all addicts do. And, growing up out there, share a little bit about the family dynamic, what it was like. You were out there till you're about 8 years old. So what was that time period like for you?
Pretty chaotic. My family was very poor. We lived in a lot of Section 8 government housing. Put it this way, all the diapers that my family used, I'm in the middle of 5 children, so not a great dynamic for a poor family, but all of the diapers that my mom used were actually towels that were donated from a church that she went to, and she would just wash and reuse those as our diapers. First couple years of my life, all the food that we ate was provided by that same church. A family of 7, we didn't have a vehicle. We had to depend on other people to get rides, so from a very early age, I had that feeling that most of us addicts share. I didn't belong. I wasn't comfortable in my own skin, and any type of adversity felt like Mount Everest for me to try and get over. So very early on, I learned how to just avoid that and run from it.
Yeah, and so we experienced all those kind of things, low self-worth, negative self-talk. We have these beliefs of, what's right and what's wrong, and we have false beliefs, and we have all these things. And ultimately, when drugs and alcohol come into the mix, that's the cure to that, right? Because we like the effect produced.
Right.
Right. You like the effect produced?
Of course.
What do you like the effect produced of far greater today?
I don't.
Well, I always tell everyone this. It's like, right now in this moment, like, sure, I like the effects produced by drugs and alcohol. I still do. That doesn't change. But what I like the effects produced of far greater is the effects produced by God in my life. Far greater, and it's got legs on it. It lasts a long time.
Jason.
Well, you know what I mean, Haley?
I do.
There's no withdrawal from it either.
There is
you know
no
what I mean?
there's no withdrawal from it. So surely don't want to experience that ever again. And so ultimately, man, you grow up out there, Section 8 housing, tons of kids, poor, everything that comes along with that. And ultimately, man, you guys moved to Lake Havasu.
Yep.
So what was that like? I mean, I know I've been to Lake Havasu, right? And you come in and when you're driving through and you look up to the right and you see all those multi-million-dollar homes. Did you live up there?
It's so beautiful over there.
No, I did not. Funny story is I lived in the first Section 8 house in Arizona, and it happened to be in Lake Havasu. And the way that we moved into that house is the lady that ran the church that my mom went through also ran the Section 8 governing board and moved my family to the very top of the list. And that's how we got in that house. But yeah, I went from being a poor white kid in a predominantly black neighborhood to a poor white kid in a predominantly white neighborhood. So I didn't fit in either of them. But what I did find out very early on is that I could start smoking weed and drinking, and that I fit in very perfectly because I no longer cared what other people thought about me, And once that started, and that effect that you talked about that we love, right? I don't like it. I love it, right?
Sure.
I love the effect that is produced by any type of foreign substance that I put in my body, and the low self-worth, all of that, right? Self-esteem. I had everything, right? I quickly learned that I could just be arrogant, and that would mash and overcome any deficiencies I had in who I thought I was, right? That I would never let any other person in the world find out what I thought about myself.
Yeah, I'll show you.
Right.
Yeah, I'll show you. You ever shown anyone, Haley?
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe.
Did my ego get in the way?
There we go.
Absolutely.
See, we got there.
Yeah.
See how we got there?
I'm a slow learner, everyone.
That's okay.
And Jason knows it, so
I was
going to
take it somewhere else, but I figured we'd keep it PC for this.
Yeah, we're going to keep it PG right now. That's another podcast for another time.
I smoked a lot of meth.
Yeah, we might need to do a
and
sanctuary
I was
radio.
already slow before the meth, so it didn't help my case.
We might need to have a sanctuary radio podcast that's called like After Hours.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Where Jason explains everything we talked about in detail. Yeah.
For you specifically.
Specifically just for me.
Just to keep you on point.
Yeah.
And so you start using at about 11 years old, and it's the weed, and it's the drinking, and it's the progression. And then 13 happens. What was 13 years old like for you?
It's the most pivotal year in my entire life. So 13 starts off very tumultuous. My parents get a divorce, right? So that's a big thing to deal with. I go out with some buddies. We think it's a good idea to go smash mailboxes, and
hanging out the car with a bat smash?
No, so we were right. I'm 13.
13,
we don't have
okay.
a car. So what you do is you snap the mailbox off the top of a mailbox, and then you bend the pole back and forth, and then you don't have to find a bat or anything like that. You've got a steel pole to go hit mailboxes with, right? But what happens is you bend a steel pole, and it bends, and it gets very sharp and jagged. And my buddy hits a mailbox, and the pole snaps in half when he hits it. And that pole has so much force that it flips and hits me in the hand and incompletely amputates my left ring finger.
I mean, can we see it, brother?
Sure.
I mean, can we see it? We need to see this thing.
Right here.
Oh, wow.
Oh, it checks out.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that happened.
Yeah.
Here, show the camera.
Yeah, we want to see
So
that.
it's hanging on by this vein right here.
Wow. Probably a lot of skin grafting and surgeries.
Tons. So they took a huge skin graft here. I got air vac'd from Lake Havasu to Loma Linda, California, where
they shot you to Cali over this thing?
Turns out the best hand surgeons in the world, right? My mom worked for the school at the time, so I had really good insurance, right? And then I went through 14 and a half hours of microscopic surgery for them to reattach my finger, and I came out looking like Freddy Krueger. I had 14 pins in these 3 fingers. My hand was so flat and smashed that you could literally lay the pole in it.
Whoa.
Wow.
Sounds pretty painful.
Yeah, extremely painful. And what they did for pain in 2003 is prescribe you opiates.
Oh, yeah. You know,
they
that's right.
prescribed it for period cramps in 2003.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
You must have had a lot of them.
Yeah, I had a ton of period cramps.
I'm just saying, they were prescribing it for everything. They were handed out like candy.
So they started a 13-year-old boy who already had some substance abuse issues on Oxycontin, and very quickly did I learn that I loved the effect. I liked weed and alcohol, and cocaine was okay here and there, right? Oxycontin was a different beast.
Let me ask you this. Did you have a hose clamp?
Absolutely. So, funny story. I was just telling my
Jason's
boss.
gonna have to explain that one to me.
I was just telling my boss about this the other day, that I would break a hose clamp, get a flathead screwdriver, put bend every end up, and then I would keep it in my wallet at all times. And he's like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Well, you don't want to waste any of it, so you got to grind it up nice and fine,
all the way down."
You could ask my mom about the amount of hose clamps that she found.
So you get a hose clamp, Haley. You bend off the end of it, the excess part that's on there, and you bend in the sides, and then you know. Let me ask you this:
you have a cheese grater for OxyContin.
Yeah, so you shave them up. Yeah, you can shave it up, right? And let me ask you this: did all your undershirts have like all the green coating?
Green and blue, absolutely. Undershirts, socks. I didn't wear undershirts.
Looked like you work for a paint company,
right? Oh yeah, absolutely. and my mom was always like, "What is all this paint on you?" I don't know, Mom.
Yeah,
right.
That's funny.
Yeah,
and so, but that's not only the all the trauma that you experience during that period of time. So you cut off your finger, you're in the hospital. You get parents get divorced, but there's some other things that come along with that.
There is indeed. So parents get divorced. Me and my mom have never really seen eye to eye until I got sober. So she's not letting me move in with my father. So I'm back and forth between my mom and my grandmother. My grandmother gets breast cancer, actually beats breast cancer, but slips and falls, and because she's a smoker all of her life, she breaks her hip, can't find a vein, she bleeds out internally and dies.
Wow.
Right?
Oh my gosh.
So I deal with that trauma of the woman that I love and trust the most. Mind you, I'm getting stoned with my grandmother, right? She was an awesome lady till the day she died. Yeah. But then I get molested shortly thereafter. And at that point, it was just, I gave up on life, right? 13 was my very first suicide attempt. We used to break into cars, not for any financial gain, just because it was fun and thrill-seeking. Mm-hmm. And I find a gun, and I put the gun in my mouth, and I pull the trigger, and the bullet doesn't go off for some reason. And I'm an arrogant idiot, and I'm an addict, so I carried that bullet around with me for years to tell myself that I was invincible, right? That, a gun can't even kill me, right? In reality, that was God stepping in and saying, I have other plans for you.
It's crazy when we, being, in recovery like we are today and, experiencing God. Because it's one thing to believe in a higher power in step 2, make a decision in step 3. But once you start to experience God working in your life and then you look back over all the years of everything you've been through, you can see that your higher power or God or whatever you choose to call it was there the whole time. Right. You were just unaware of it.
And I don't ever want to put anybody down. But if you're not able to recollect all of these occurrences and realize that is a higher power of your understanding stepping in, you're an idiot.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you.
Right.
That's ultimately, we're 12-step dudes. And the main object of this book is enable you to find a power greater in yourself, which will solve your problem. You got to find it.
Correct.
Yeah. You found it, Haley?
Yeah, absolutely.
I know you have.
Jesus is my homeboy.
The homeboy.
Homeboy. Okay. You know what I mean?
Okay, I hear you. So
shout out Jesus. I don't know.
And so, now we got a whole, everything that you've been through. And, when you hear all these things, especially about being molested and, a lot of times we think that it's only us. It only happens to us. And,
sure.
And the more we start to sponsor guys and the more we start to, pay attention in the rooms and listen and be a part of, we start to realize that it's actually an extremely common thing that unfortunately,
right.
that we think we're so unique from. Mm-hmm. And it's ultimately now using those experiences, like sharing it on a podcast. I'm sure you use it with all your sponsees and when you work with them. And what we're doing is we're shifting the attachment to it. And we almost become grateful, if you will, because now we're more qualified to help others to experience it.
Sure.
What are you grateful for today, Haley?
I'm grateful for my kids and my boyfriend.
We got to give him a shout out. He broke his leg.
He did. He broke his leg yesterday.
Bullfighting. Cowboy up, right?
Yeah.
What's the statement? You deal with the bull, you get the horns.
Yeah.
So he found that out.
Yeah. Okay. Pretty much. He's he's a professional, and
this is a little piece of trivia for you. This is movie trivia. What line is this? What line is this movie from? I'm just a cowboy looking for work. Anything heavy, I ride rodeo.
Oh my God, you told me this last time.
I've told you this before.
You have told me this. I don't know.
It's from that movie Heat.
Okay.
It's a classic.
I don't think I've seen it.
Yeah, that was just a little side note, like a little bit of trivia in my life. And so, everything that you got going on, you drop out of school, you end up getting a GED. And then from like 13 to 18, you have this period of time where you're just getting in trouble. Like, what was that whole period like?
In and out of incarceration, juvenile incarceration, IPS, standard probation, ankle monitors, drug use, detox. Back then, just as there is now, there's very few resources for adolescents that need treatment.
And that's so sad. It
really is.
So sad.
There are a few companies now that are really, really trying to push the envelope of getting residential treatment centers open for juveniles, which is an amazing thing.
Yeah, it's so bad. I mean, I call Haley every time I need to figure out where to send somebody, and I like literally call her and ask her the same questions for the last year. And I always call her about the adolescent ones, and there's only like 2.
Yeah,
There's very few.
ASAP and a couple other places, right?
Yeah, it's sad.
Willow, I think, is one. Yeah.
Yeah, so instead of me going to treatment, they put me into, I think it was called the SMART program. I don't know. It was in a county jail. So you're basically locked up, but you were learning recovery tools while you were in there. And the counselor that ran it had like 25 years sober. He's the guy that is also a huge pillar in my recovery, right? That he's the one that opened the door and showed me what recovery looked like at an early age. So yeah, I did what all good criminals do, right? I didn't get off with good behavior or anything like that. I timed out.
Yeah. You're 18, brother. You got to go.
Correct.
Right.
You don't got to go home, but you can't stay here anymore.
Right. And my mom at this point, like I said, never had a good relationship. She kicked me out for the second to the last time at 17 years old and just about to be 18. So I moved up to Tempe with my sister.
Oh, shout out Mill Avenue. You ever rock Mill Avenue, Haley?
No, I'm from Wickenburg. It was too far of a drive. I told you that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure I've told you that.
You guys don't have like a windmill avenue or anything in
No,
Wickenburg?
we were desert parties.
Barn parties, huh?
Yeah, desert parties, barn parties.
Like cow tipping?
Rock shows?
Like, no,
Yeah,
cow
the
tipping.
gem show?
Yeah.
We got the gem show in town this week, and let's get extra turned up.
Yeah, we would hang out in the riverbeds. Like, I don't know.
Was there any water in there?
There was some.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Puddles? Not an actual
What's the-
It
river?
wasn't an actual
You
river.
go fishing, Haley?
I've been fishing a couple times, but I've never caught a fish.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's really kind of hurting my feelings. So
We're going to take you to...
I'm trying.
You know, this is just another little side note here. I know we're getting off topic here, but one time I love fishing, but I was horrible at catching them. So one time my dad took me to a trout farm, and
So
I
you
caught
could
about...
catch one?
I caught about 35
we
fish.
did that with my kids in Sedona. Yeah.
It's the
Confidence
best way
builder,
Yes, it's the best way to do it.
That's kind of funny.
And so you move out to Tempe, and you know we still got that addiction thing that's untreated,
Heavy.
And then just like I think it's extreme part of my story when they take the OxyContins off the market, and we go to the 30s, and then next thing you know, either the heroin is way cheaper, right, or we can't find pills anymore, and they're so expensive you can find them. So what was that whole period like for you?
I showed up to my dealer's house like I did every other day, and money in hand, and said, hey, you know, what do you got? And he goes, I'm all out of pills, man. I don't know when I'm getting more. And he's about the 4th or 5th person that had told me that. And I walk out of his room, and I'm like, this dude is an addict like I'm an addict. And I go back in and said, how are you not sick? He goes, oh, I've been smoking heroin for about the last few months, right? And heroin's that one line in the sand I'm never going to do.
I'm never gonna do that.
But we always cross those
I'm
lines.
not that guy.
Right.
My lines are more like the ocean came and took them away, and you can't even see the remnants that they were ever there, right?
Right.
I'll never forget it. I walked out of that room, and something in my brain said, let's just get well.
Yeah.
And in a couple of days, we'll get pills again.
Yeah, we'll
right?
figure it out.
And quite literally, I sat in that room for the next 5 months. And the progression continued, right? I smoked heroin initially, and I'm never going to put a needle in my skin and all this stuff. And things happen, right? You become a full-blown heroin addict, you're going to stick a needle in your arm.
Yeah, I mean, it ultimately always leads to that. We always have these things that we say we're never going to do, and we always do them. And, you know, once that full-blown heroin addiction happens, I mean, if you're anything like me, you're stealing from everyone. Mm-hmm. I mean, everybody.
Anything that's not tied down, and then I'm helping you look for it.
Are you a pawn shop type dude?
Yes and no. I was until I started.
You had to connect on Craigslist?
I did, yeah. And then I started burning bridges at pawn shops that, like, they were getting too many phone calls that the stuff that I was selling them was stolen, right? So my picture was up in all these pawn shops around Tempe, and I didn't have a car, right? I'd already title on that thing away.
Yeah.
So,
of course.
You know, then it's, you just got to sell stuff on Craigslist.
Yeah.
Or trade it to your dealer, right?
I'm the dude who goes to the pawn shop with a 64-inch flat screen TV, brand new, just came out, and I'm like, I only want $100 for this thing because I'm coming back. Mm-hmm. I have never came back. I've never got anything back out.
I've only pawned a few things, and it was when I stole from my grandma, and I had to go get them back.
Same. I got one thing that I got back, and we can get into that later because it ties into my 9-step amends. But
okay, so we're gonna get there, and ultimately, man, you know, once we start doing heroin, and you know, all of a sudden now we need more, and we need more, and we need more, and so usually we have these bright ideas that, You know, if I just get this ounce and I can cut it up, I could flip it and then I could
Right.
stay well and I won't have to spend money. It'll be perfect. And so that's what you did. What was that whole period like for you when you thought you were Pablo Escobar?
Oh, I was a kingpin of Tempe, you know. Like anything else in my life, it started off really, really good and then went very bad
Goes
very
so
quickly.
good till it goes so bad.
Yeah. You know, and I like to do things at a exuberant amount. So I try and sell as much weed or as much heroin or, you know, I just like to be the best and do the most at everything, right? Because of that low self-worth that I have to overcompensate in every aspect of my life. And when you deal drugs, you meet a lot of very good, solid, heartwarming people, right? And one of those heartwarming people got busted and turned me in and set me up on a controlled buy.
Big heart.
Yeah, wonderful, right? Stand-up individual. So it's my first real charge, and I'm sitting in jail, and I'm kicking bad. At this point, I had about a 5 gram a day habit.
Ooh.
And
Damn.
You weren't feeling too good.
no, I could show you my my mugshot now or later.
Yeah, we're going to need to plug that production.
Yeah, here, right here, production.
It's
mugshot.
it's horrific, right? And it's actually hanging up in our admissions lobby because I want people to see.
You know what? I was just
The
down there
transition.
at your admissions lobby, bringing down a client yesterday or Monday.
Yep.
And
Did
I
you see
looked
it?
at I looked at them. I seen there's like 5 or 6 of them in line right above those
All
chairs.
the people that do intakes.
Oh, those are all their mugshots?
Yep.
Oh,
I
that's
love
great.
that. That's so awesome.
great.
We need that here.
wall of hope.
I feel like
Well, if we put your mugshot up, it might scare the
It's
shit out of them. We
really
might not get
scary.
another client.
Parents will
I was
never
really
come back.
tweaking. Yeah.
Right.
Let me ask you this about kicking in prison or in jail. You know, I've had the experience of doing that a few times.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
And in my experience, the times that I've done it, the withdrawal hasn't been nearly as bad as it was when I was trying to kick it on the streets because I knew I could go get it.
So I've never been to an actual detox, right? Because a person like me, if you give me the opportunity to leave and go get well, that is damn sure what I'm going to do.
Right.
Jail, I don't have that opportunity. I am forced to sit in there and kick, right? Didn't stop me from calling my mom and giving her some BS story about people in there that I owed money that were going to kill me,
Yeah, I'm
right?
gonna
I
need
came
that.
up with everything.
Yeah.
Mom, you got to get me out of here, right? But really what I wanted to do is go get well.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And so a reason I say that is because in my just opinion and experience, I think it's about 80% mental and about 20% physical because when I knew I couldn't get it, those times when I detoxed weren't nearly as bad.
When you knew you could go out and get it.
Yeah, when I knew I could go
Right.
and get it. I mean, my wife left me for literally 20 minutes with no phone, no, and this is actually the time when I ripped the TV right off the wall, used the neighbor's phone, called a cab, told him to wait out front, gave him some of them, yeah, that happened. She came back. I'm sitting there just all of a sudden feeling great. TV's gone.
You guys just got 12 years.
I don't know what happened to
You
it.
guys
It
just
was
got
weird.
12 years married.
We've been married 12
That's
years.
crazy.
It's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. And so you end up spending some time in jail. And,
I do.
And what happens after you get out of jail? They get you on probation or?
Not yet. They get me into. My mom picks me up and takes me to. I'm like, I gotta go home, right? And little do I know, her and my brother and sister have gone to my house, which is a full blown trap house.
Oh yeah.
And cleaned everything out of my room.
You're pissed.
Livid,
Yeah.
right? I have plans, right? I've been waiting this whole time I'm in jail to get out and do this shot, right?
Yeah.
And she drops me off at 5116 East Thomas Road, which is Crossroads Arcadia.
Okay. Shout out Arcadia.
And again, I'm right. Like I'm a grown man. You're not making these decisions, right? So I'm about to get out of the car and run. And my mom says, listen, you have 2 options. You go into treatment and it helps with your case. I already talked to your lawyer about it. Or you run and I revoke your bond and you get a warrant.
Okay,
out
so
for
she
your-
bonded. So she bonded you
She
out,
did.
and then you went to Crossroads. You get that nice
She
letter
really
saying you're
held
in.
some
Hey,
boundaries.
I'm in treatment.
I'm doing
right? For
so
the first
good.
time ever. First time ever she had boundaries, right? And those boundaries pissed me off, right?
Yeah, I don't like
Right.
that shit.
I like being able to manipulate. And I'm
Well, we
really,
all
really
do.
good at it, right?
Right.
But when you-
Haley's good at it too.
for sure. But when you set
try.
those boundaries, then I have to find new ways to manipulate, right? And my manipulation was, okay, whatever, I'll go into treatment, right? And I was going to give it, I don't know, 3 days maybe at max. And I ended up staying 126 days for God knows what reason. I guess I halfway bought into treatment. Then I found out.
So you went from the bunkhouse, double bunk area. Then did you go across the way where you had your own room?
I did.
And then you start working during that period of time?
So, I was doing, I forget the company. I was selling like pens and stickers.
SGI?
Yes.
They still,
Yes.
they still reach out and help
You know
people
what?
in
They send
recovery.
everybody there. And one thing, I'm a telemarketer from way back. That's the only job I've ever had other than working in treatment now. I don't even want to get into all that, but my point is I know about SGI, and they make you say this dumb joke. You have to read the script verbatim with a dumbass joke in the beginning.
Oh
and
my
they
gosh. Do you know the joke?
I can't
remember it, but it's just like, are you kidding me? No wonder why you get hung up on every single time you call.
That's kind of funny.
And so you work at SGI, and you're making some money, and then ultimately they hire you on.
Yeah. Hire me as a volunteer to work at Crossroads Arcadia, and I found out that I'm very good at acting as if while I'm in treatment, right? I'll be the best rehab kid you've ever seen, right? And they hire me, and they never said it to me, but what I hear is, hey, you don't have to pay rent, and we're not going to drug test you anymore, right? Neither of those things were true. They're just what I perceived.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
And 2 days into my employment, I was stealing residents' medications and then going out and having one-on-ones with them and talking recovery. Loaded.
Get all the way turned up on the gabapentin.
Suboxone, I was stealing their subs.
Yeah.
And back then, night
There
manager.
was no NARC counts or...
There was once a month, but
Right.
yeah.
You just blame it on the client. You know how they are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
They
they're all-
probably took two.
But the thing about people that are in recovery and that work in recovery, right, they're very quick to find out that
Right.
you are no longer sober, right? We can look at one person, or you hear that tone in their voice, and you automatically
that pirate
know.
voice.
You can see
I
it.
can hear it every time.
You can see it immediately on everybody.
So my boss calls me out on it, right? Like any good recovering addict would call you out on, and I get furious, right? How could you? How
dare you?
Yeah, not me.
And he says, "Well, just take this UA, right?" I said, "Fuck you, right? I'm not doing that." And he goes, "Marcus, just tell me you're getting high." I said, "Yeah, I've been getting high for a week, right?" It was like 3 at this point, right?
Yeah.
And so they gave me 20 minutes to pack my stuff up and get out of there. And like any good drug addict, I had nowhere to go. I was homeless for a couple of days and moved back in with mommy.
Yeah, gotta call mom.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, thank you, mom. Shout out, mom.
Hey, yes.
He goes, yes.
That woman, not enough praise in the world for what I put that woman through and what she has carried me through.
I think we can all relate to that with our moms.
And so for sure. And so when you show back up at mom's house, now you've been using for 3 weeks. So I'm just assuming that it doesn't, end very well there.
No, it ends exactly how you think it ends. Mom made the mistake of opening her arms and her heart back up and her home to me. And I took full advantage of that and manipulated every single thing that I could. She had a little box of jewelry that got to the point that was so bad she was hiding it in her trunk of her car every morning to drive to work because she didn't know what would be missing when I got home, right? Or she got home, right? And I'm on probation at this point, right? And her and my PO get in cahoots, because that's who my mom is, right? She's the I'm going to call the cops on you type of mom, which is perfectly fine, right? Probably saved my life. And my PO randomly shows up and says, "Hey, we got to talk." All right, cool. What's going on, right? And he goes, "Well, you've taken 43 UAs and 39 of them have been dirty."
Dang.
Right? I'm like, I feel like a loser, right? Like, you mean all 43 weren't dirty, right?
Yeah.
I let myself down.
Maybe your testing's broken.
Something's wrong with your lab because I
Right.
should have been 43 for
That's
43.
100%. And he goes, "Look, you have until the end of this week to get into treatment or you're going back into jail."
So that means I got 6.5 days to get high.
For sure.
Exactly.
He doesn't know, like, right? I minimize and I lie because that's what I do. I'm in the Hall of Fame for the stories I've told,
Right.
right? And so I told, "Oh, yeah, it's not that bad. I'll be fine," right? Really, I'm back up to shooting like a gram a day, right? And I find a place up in Prescott that, is this recovery community, right? It's going to be beautiful. I'm going to go up there. I'm going to kick and things will be great, right?
In the pine trees.
Yeah.
You ever been to Prescott, Haley?
I have.
Yeah, in the pine trees.
I have. I used to go to kids camp up there every summer.
Oh, you went to kids?
I can't-
What kind of kids camp?
When you were a kid?
Well,
or?
no, when I was a
okay.
kid.
Last summer?
I went to church camp with it was a Presbyterian church.
Like,
Assembly
vacation
of God.
Bible school?
Yeah.
Like VBS?
No, we did that too. That's more Baptist, but yeah.
Did you have one of those things where you swing off the tree and then you get on that big air pillow type thing and it throws you in there?
Yeah.
Really? Zip line?
No, it's the blob.
I know. Was there a zip line?
There was a zip line.
Oh, that's that fancy camp, huh?
We slept in teepees. It was legit.
Oh, full throttle. Okay.
Every summer.
Every summer. All right, so
summer.
you've been there. It's confirmed.
My parents just wanted to get rid of us. We
okay.
were wild.
Can't
kids.
blame
Yeah,
them.
yeah. I mean, I hear you. I mean, you're still wild.
Yeah, you should see my kids. They're worse than me. God is definitely punishing me for sure. For sure.
And so you show up in Prescott, man, and you go to Hillside, and you're there for 28 days, and just like most people who go, because Prescott's got such a high volume of treatment facilities and such a small city. And so what ends up happening if you don't, have the privilege of finding recovery and the gift of pain and desperation, when you're finally willing to get recovery, not relief, usually you end up doing the halfway house shuffle, 3/4 house shuffle.
100%.
Is that what you did?
Yeah.
What was that like?
It's chaotic, right? You're in a place maybe 2-3 weeks, a month. You might get 2 months out of a place, right? Until you are unable to get fake pee or pass a drug test or any of these things. And then you're kicked out with your black garbage bags.
The trash bag. You ever been kicked out with black trash bags from anywhere, Haley?
Mm-mm.
Good for you.
No.
And then you show up at another place, and all of these places talk, right?
Yeah, they know you.
Yeah. And you plead your case, and this is going to be different, and take me in, right? And really, it's like I just don't have anywhere else to go.
Right.
And these God-loving individuals kept giving a person like me a chance.
Yeah.
And I took full advantage of it every single time.
And we usually do, but when we look back on those periods of time, it's like now where we all work in recovery, we know we've done it. Every single thing that any of our clients have done or currently do or try to manipulate, like we've done. I know especially Haley's done it all. So I know that she could relate to everybody. So that's good. That's why we have her on staff.
Thanks, Jason.
Because she's extremely relatable to trauma and all kinds of other
definitely
things.
trauma for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't ever take a client lying to me personally, because
exactly.
if you're getting high, you're lying.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
There's no doubt about that. And so you end up getting out of there and you're doing the halfway house shuffle and everything always, ends up going bad and you actually get arrested on a violation.
Correct.
And so what happens?
House manager UAs me, calls my PO, and I actually end up getting this halfway house raided because it was a kingpin at Prescott. I had 1.5 grams of heroin on me,
balling.
and so I get taken in, and I don't know. I ended up doing 25-30 days, something like that, something real light, and my PO comes and visits me and says, "Hey, you're going back through Hillside," and I'm like, "I just went through there 4 months ago," right? But again, lack of resources and an individual seeing something in myself that I had never seen, right? And wanting me to get sober. So that's the direction we went. And I got out of jail and went right back into Hillside.
And so when you go back into Hillside, this is the first time where you kind of buy into the program in 12 steps and you kind of get a sponsor and you kind of work some steps. And
I was kind of sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Just
not
a little bit.
Not all the way.
Yeah.
But I wanted a taste of something different. I was really just sick of going to jail and all my stuff getting stolen out of the halfway house.
Yeah, that's never fun.
So, so I get a little taste of recovery in there. I go back into the halfway house that I had gotten kicked out of. They took me back, and everything was amazing. Recovery started changing my life like it does in most people when you really buy in. And I met a girl.
That's how all Haley's stories start. I met a guy, and maybe one starts with a girl.
I went to an
starts with a girl.
I went to an all male facility and met a guy. It was weird. So I meet a girl. It's got close to 2.5 years sober, and she did what Haley did and 13-stepped me.
Oh yeah, she
Dang.
did.
Yeah.
First of all, my ex definitely 13-stepped me. I'm just throwing that out there because he had more time sober than I did.
Okay,
so.
now everybody knows.
Yeah.
Thank you, Haley.
I just had to throw that out
Yeah,
there.
thank
It's on
you.
the docket.
Yeah, it's
So-
on the.
I always phrase it that the closer her and I got, the farther her and I got away from recovery, right? Which is strange because I would never let go of my program at this point in my life, right? And but we did. We started using each other as our recovery source, and moved in together, and everything was going to be great. We were going to build this fabulous abstinent life, right? There was no recovery. We were just dry at this point. And she gets into a car accident, breaks her arm, and starts getting prescribed opiates. I think it was Vicodin or whatever it was back then. Whatever it was wasn't strong enough to her liking, but it was strong enough to reignite that itch that we all know.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And shortly thereafter, she started partaking in heroin again. And I was not using it at the time, so her and I came up with a plan that we were going to get her down to Phoenix, get her into treatment, and keep the wheels on this thing. And like any good drug addict, she had to get high one last time, like we all do, right? Mm. And she did a shot of heroin. We said goodnight, and I woke up the next morning, and she was dead next to me.
Mm. And that one, every time we say that one last time, that could be the one last time for a lot of things.
Especially with fentanyl now,
right?
Fentanyl, that last time is your
Russian
last time.
roulette,
right? It's not if anymore. It's when.
Yeah, exactly.
That fentanyl is killing everyone.
Mm-hmm.
It's extremely sad to see. And so now here we go. We got death. We got loss. We got everything you've been through. Growing up poor, Section 8 housing, not low self-esteem, low worth, the molestation that happened to you, death of your grandma, moving out to Tempe, in and out of incarcerations, in and out of jail, kicked out of halfway houses, and then you throw a death of a fiance in the mix. Mm-hmm. And now, just like we all do when we're experiencing extreme trauma, especially, because the program tells us we can do anything, go anywhere when we're spiritually fit. We can get through anything. And you're walking through something that we're going to talk about at the end because you're spiritually fit and you're able to do it and contribute and be there sober. But until then, we end up just doing what we knew. Problem, let's add to some problem. And so you go on a sick one.
I walk right in the bathroom. Shoot the rest of the heroin that she just died off of.
That's so powerful right there.
Make a phone call to her mom. Her mom tells me to F off and that she wishes it was me. Hangs up on me. I call the police, and I immediately embark on a journey to kill myself in the next couple of weeks. I'm going around taking fronts, getting as much heroin as I can compile and shooting as much heroin as I can trying to overdose. Unsuccessfully. I wake up in the hospital, and of course my probation officer's there, and I'm handcuffed.
Is this the same one you've had this whole time?
Mm-hmm. And
is it a guy or a girl?
It's a girl, and she's done with me like my mother is done with me. Mm-hmm. Actually, I'll probably call her when we get out of here and tell her I'm doing good. Yeah. I did that at a year sober,
Nice.
And so I wake up and she's got a hospital table with all of my paraphernalia and 0.2 of heroin or whatever I had left, right? And the first words out of her mouth when I become conscious are, Marcus, I'm charging you with all of this. And that was perfectly fine with me because I was mad that I had woken up, number one. Mad that somebody saved my life because the last thing I wanted to do was continue on living. And I went to jail. And again, I'm kicking in jail, right? Fresh off an overdose and a 2.5-week run, and waking up crying every morning and trying to fight somebody so that I can create this physical release of my emotions, that I come up with a plan that I'm going to kill myself as soon as I get out of there, no matter what happens. And I go to court, and I expedite my sentencing. And, the judge goes through his whole spiel, clears out the courtroom, and looks at me and says, Mr. Weisbly, I'm sorry for what happened to you. Man I've never met in my life. But God has a very unique way of putting people to show compassion to me when I need it the most. And like any good person that shows me compassion when I'm not ready to receive it, I tell them to F off.
Mm-hmm. Haley still does that.
And then I start crying.
I do struggle with that, yes.
Start crying in the courtroom, and again, he goes through his whole spiel about, you're waiving your right to trial and all. Cool, I don't care, right? Get me somewhere so that I can kill myself. That's all I want to hear out of your mouth, right? Didn't tell him that, obviously. That's my plan and my plan only.
Right.
And the judge tells me I'm going to give you 4 more months of county time and reinstate you on probation.
I mean, the king of being reinstated.
Yes.
I mean, how many? You ever been woke up in the hospital, cuffed to a bed?
No.
Oh, good for you.
It's pretty fun.
I've never been to jail. I've been arrested once.
Do they have jail in Wickenburg?
They do.
Or
Yeah.
they just lock you in a horse stall?
Well, I told you about that story where my dad had me arrested at 11 to like,
Oh, yeah.
you know, prove a point. So that was like the
Scared
only,
straight.
Yeah.
and it just gave me
It
like
worked.
street cred in Wickenburg. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I got arrested.
One day in jail. And,
Yeah.
And
it was like my dad's best friend growing up. And
Gave
he's
you
like
a DOC number
Yeah.
from Wickenburg.
like it was stupid. But yeah, that's the only time I've ever been arrested.
And so God ends up having different plans for you, man. And
Always
you
does.
know, always does. And, you know, now as we continue to talk about it, we see how he's been there in our lives.
Right.
And once we align our action with God, then we get to experience just miracles and blessings and the promises in every area of our lives. And so ultimately, man, you get a 4-month, jail sentence. They reinstate you on probation. But the main stipulation is that as you go to treatment.
Correct.
And you go back to Crossroads.
No, so it was a treatment center of my choosing.
Okay.
And it's, again, right, it's God. It's the only thing I can attribute it to. I go from being this sad, angry, hopeless individual that I wake up in jail one morning and I have made the most sure-handed decision I've ever made in my life. And it wasn't my decision. The thought was there right when I woke up. I'm going back down to Phoenix and I'm going through Crossroads. Because the only time that I ever had a small taste of recovery that I was truly happy was there. So let's go back. And again, I don't know if that was my fiance putting that in my head. I didn't know who it was. I just knew it was there and that I didn't come up
Someone
with it.
was praying for you.
100%.
And you didn't,
right?
Yeah.
And I called my mom again, right, who's done with me and wants absolutely nothing. And I said, Mom, I need one last favor from you. I need you to call the director and see if he'll let me back in. Because I didn't leave on good terms.
No, I mean, not the best
Right.
of terms.
Right? I'm stealing residents' medications. I'm getting high on I'm doing one-on-ones.
Yeah, they frown upon that.
You know what I mean? I'm out there talking recovery with guys with a head full of drugs, right? And like we do at Crossroads, he welcomed me back with open arms.
Mm. Shout out Joe Peterson.
Absolutely. That man has been there through the best
He
and worst
was
parts of my recovery.
he was there when I was there. Back in I think it was 2013 when I went through there. And so you end up going back to Crossroads. You go to Crossroads East. This is in 2016, man. And this is where your journey, just the evolution of the man you are today and everything you do for Crossroads, it starts right then and right there. But the only reason why any of these things happen is because you go full throttle in your recovery. So what's full throttle in your recovery look like?
So for somebody like me, I'm a full-blown extremist, right? It's either all or nothing.
Right.
And I tell myself, one last try. Everything that I have is going into getting sober, right? The cliches they talk about. You got to give everything you got and, put in as much effort as you did trying to get high, right? Like, I never paid attention to those. For me, it was, I'm going to put everything I have in it. And in the moment that I am as unhappy sober as I was getting loaded, I'm going to kill myself. I didn't tell anybody that. I didn't need to, right? That was this resolve that I had of, this is what is pushing me through getting sober.
Right.
And honestly, that's what powered me through for the first year.
What's your favorite cliche, Haley?
Give it. I don't know. I don't have
One day at a time.
Keep coming back.
Yeah, keep coming back.
It works when you work it.
Makers make it.
I literally hate being
Fake
put on
it
the
till you
spot.
make it?
Yeah, fake it till you make it.
Easy does it.
I don't know.
We're going to have to work on that.
I literally hate being put on the spot. I have idea.
It's my favorite thing to do.
I know.
It's just my job, and this podcast with you as my co-host is
Pick
just
on me.
Yes, and just to put you on the spot as much as I possibly can. So you end up, you go full throttle. You do 90 and 90. You get a sponsor. You work the steps. You get, do a 4 and a 5. You get, you end up, doing some trauma therapy, and you meet this therapist and
An amazing lady.
And shout out to your therapist and so how that all comes to play. If you want to just share briefly, because I know that's a very important part of your story, I just want to hear briefly what that was about. With your therapist.
So I basically get forced into trauma therapy and by my boss, and long story less long, I end up meeting this lady, and I'm totally against therapy because of my experiences as a child, and she goes on to explain her journey to become a therapist, which included her husband being an alcoholic, relapsing after 18 years, going off the wagon, killing himself in a DUI. She becomes an alcoholic and makes a vow to herself and her husband when she's in the hospital a couple years later that she's going to go back to school so that she can learn how to help people to help herself. And she tells me this, and I'm all in at that point because that's exactly what I just went through.
Yeah,
Right.
and she gained your trust pretty quickly. And so you're doing this 3 times a week, but not only are you going to see a therapist and working on your trauma, you're also working one hell of a program. You got service commitments, meetings. I mean, you're helping you name it, sponsees, home groups. I mean, you're doing all these things.
I was riding the bus to go sponsor people.
I love
that.
Yeah, that's the best.
Because that's what I needed.
Yeah. Get on the bus, man, and get there. And, just
there really is no excuse.
You just experience God when you work with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And the more we can experience God on a day-to-day basis, the way that we understand it, then it keeps us spiritually intoxicated, like it talks about in the family afterward. So during this period of time now, the evolution with you at Crossroads is impressive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I want you to rattle off all your positions of where you got today. I mean, because it's so powerful. And I know you're going to start this alumni group because they need to see people who come through the programs. The same thing with the Sanctuary Recovery Centers, the alumni group that we're starting. They get to see that people recover here. We continue to go out, be productive members, work recovery, experience life.
There's a life after.
Yes. And it's so important to see. But I want you to tell us the evolution of your job working at Crossroads.
So I went as a night manager, case manager, running groups, peer mentor, admissions coordinator, director of the utilization management department, director of admissions, and to my current role that I'm doing now, business development manager.
I mean, congratulations.
Thank you.
Dude,
That's awesome.
that is from a guy who worked at Crossroads, who stole medication from the clients and then did one-on-ones with them, being kicked out, everything that you've been through, and then to come back, find recovery, that's a humbling feeling to come back. Everyone recovery talks, they gossip. You know anything about that?
Recovery gossip?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been involved in that before.
Yeah, you've been involved in that a little bit.
I've been the topic of the recovery gossip a couple times.
Yeah, you have. And so just to have this ability, man, and so ultimately when we really look at what this podcast today is, just to share your message, share your story, but it's also, too, to talk about Crossroads, everything that you got going on there, the vision that you guys have. I heard you guys opened a detox.
We did.
It's
we
a
just
beautiful
opened
facility.
a 16-bed access and non-access funded. So anybody that doesn't have insurance, you don't have to go to a hospital anymore. You can come see us.
I love that.
Okay, so share a little bit about just the vision for Crossroads right now, your vision for you, what you got on the table, and where they can find you at.
Vision for Crossroads is the same it's always been. We're going to continue to try and help people in the best way possible, whether that's with us or us getting you sent or referred to somewhere that you need to go that fits you better. We just opened the detox. It just opened on Tuesday. It's 16 beds. And currently we're working on developing our last project, I hope for a little while, is a sober living, community living in Scottsdale that will house about 65 males. It's going to be a full incorporated outpatient program, but it'll be more of a sober living type environment. For myself, I would really, just like to continue to build the relationships with other recovery organizations and like-minded individuals that really only care about helping.
Right.
I don't care about my image. I don't care about what people think. None of that, right? If I can go to sleep at night knowing that I helped one individual, my job's done. Right? I don't need other people to post about it. I don't need any of that, right? I just need the one-on-one with that individual and getting them into a place that we can help save their life.
And and so that's we got to do it together. It's a team sport, man. And so it's altruistic, sincere desire to be helpful.
Yes.
And that's what the altruistic move. Did you know that?
I did know that about
altruism.
altruism.
All right.
Yeah.
There we go. And so when we find recovery and, we remove the obsession to want to change the way we feel, and I don't want to take, I know we want to keep this in some sort of time period here, but we got to give your wife a shout out real quick because we can't not have you on the podcast and not give your wife a shout out. Ethan Triple OG Ogden did that. We had a double back around on that. And
shame on me for not mentioning her earlier,
well, I kind of pushed you through it a little bit, but just give a quick.
My wife is not in recovery, right? My wife is amazing through and through, head to toe, right? Best woman I've ever met. And when we met, it took a lot of courage for me to say, okay, hey, I'm gonna tell you everything about me, right? And this woman goes, yeah, I know. And I said, what do you mean you know? She goes, well, I ran a background check on you.
Oh, yeah, that's
I said, what? She goes, I have a child. It's not just
Googled
about
your
me,
ass.
right? I had to make sure that you were okay to be around my kid.
Wow.
And, it pissed me off, right? But I was like, this is also the coolest thing that's ever happened to me, right? Yeah. And for some reason, right, maybe I manipulated her, I don't know. That woman has stayed by my side through everything, and allowed me to be a wonderful stepfather to her child, and also give me a child of my own. So
yeah, you got a 7.5-month-old
and an 8.5-year-old,
and an 8.5-year-old.
I am surrounded by women.
Yes, so I have 2 daughters as well. So I get it. And my wife is not in recovery, so I understand totally. Yeah. And, God, it's just, when we have having beautiful people in our lives to hold us accountable, to, have healthy relationships with and experience life together, that is, that's what life's really all about.
Right.
And so, when we find recovery, we think that just everything is going to be good all the time, right? And so I want you to share, because it's not always that way. Life still happens. Right. I know right now, currently at this moment, you're going through probably one of the most difficult things that anyone can go through right now, and you're walking through it sober. You're walking through it being there, being supportive, being the shining light for your family, and doing all those things. So why don't you just share about that for a minute?
Sure. February, I found out that my father had stage 4 cancer. It was not only in his lungs, it had spread quite a few major organs, and he had about a 7-inch or 7-something centimeter, whatever, tumor on his bottom 2 vertebrae. And when they start using the terms comfort instead of prevention and curing, I'm able to read through the lines, right? And it's my dad, right? Smartest, toughest, strongest, most caring man I've ever met in my entire life. And my wife and I decided to take a vacation over the weekend to San Francisco to celebrate our anniversary of 2 years. And Saturday night, I get a call from my family that my father had gone to sleep and was unable to be woken, still breathing, but that this was going to be the end. This is his transition. And my father would have told me, "Don't be an idiot. Have fun on your vacation." And I know that for a fact, but that does not change the amount of guilt that I have for not getting on a plane and coming home immediately. So instead, what I did is put my AirPods in and went and sat outside and FaceTime my father and just talked to him, because I was told by his nurse that the last thing that goes through an individual before they pass is their hearing. And I spoke with my father at great lengths about the regrets that I had and the appreciation that he never left my side. And the man that I am today is because of who he showed me to be. And the next phone call I got was from my sister to tell me that he had passed. That was on my anniversary on the 29th on Sunday. And my sister said, "Marcus, the last song that we played for him was the song that him and I did our first dance to." And tears were coming out of his eyes right before he took his last breath. And it's weird being on vacation and being in random places and you just start crying. We were on the trolley. I'm bawling my eyes out, right? And like we're at a restaurant having seafood because my father loves seafood, and I'm crying, right? But again, right, I get to be here and I get to be sober and I get to hold my wife's hands and my child's hands and my family's hands and walk through that and show up and be present for him and for my family. And that's all due to God and recovery.
And it is. And so when we're able to do those things, that's just what, just a testament to the type of man you are today, the program you work, and how God works in your life. So I want to thank you for being on the show, sharing everything with us. Seek out Crossroads, look Marcus up, find him, like all of his stuff, get in touch, anything you need, get at him. And where can they find us, Haley?
It's we're on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and it's all at Sanctuary Recovery Centers.
Do you want to plug a phone number real quick?
Yeah, 602-263-5242. That's our main line at Crossroads. Just ask for me and you'll get over there.
Anything you need, man, reach out to us. It's a team sport. So thank you for being on the show.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you. See you next time.